to the cloud. Okay, good evening. It is Monday, May 14th, the middle of the month. That's going really fast. I'm freezing up. Shoot. Okay, kind of roll with this. Hopefully I don't freeze up too much. Hi, Bev. Aw. Okay, so I'm going to start with my testimony for tonight. And this is a testimony I got from one of my customers the middle of this week. And it just filled my heart so much. I met this woman at church. And because of my posts, she reached out to me through social media and wanted to know more about the product. And it was one of those beautiful moments, you know, when it's nice to have that interaction through technology, but when you can meet with someone face to face, there's so much power in that. And she just really needed an ear to listen. So here's her testimony. She said, my mental health is feeling much better today. Slept better 2 nights in a row, and being this close to starting the products, that's pretty good for me. She said, somehow today I feel different. I feel a new inner peace and calm that I either haven't had for a long time, but maybe haven't ever felt. And I saw her on Sunday, and she was so joyful, like so excited to be having like this peace, this sense of peace in her mind, because she's been on antidepressant meds, she's been on meds for anxiety, ADD, and she wants to be off those medications. So I just thought that was a great testimony. Now, the other thing I'm going to share real quick, and then we'll get to our guest for tonight. I just wanted to talk about Taylor Worry and the live that he did today. Of course, you can see those on social media. But again, I wanted to pinpoint the key points that he said and why he's with LifeVantage. So he said, one, the products. He said the products, and he had a defining moment with the products with his mother. He said within 4 days, and his mom is a cancer survivor, she said to him, I don't need to know how these work. I don't need to know what's in them. All I know is I feel better. And that for him was huge. He knew that they lowered oxidative stress, but to have that defining moment with his mom was huge for him. He believes we have the best kept secret in the world. He said the field leadership that we have is like nothing else he's seen before. He said the retention rate we have is like nothing he's seen before. Most companies focus on distributors. We are focusing on customers. That's completely different. He says our corporate staff combined have over 330 years of experience in the network marketing industry. He believes LifeVantage will be a $10 to $20 billion a year company in the future. He says Darren Jensen tracks everything. So they said this live that we're doing, this RV tour, they said this is not just hype. This is because we believe with all our heart that we are on the verge of momentum. They said Darren, he's a numbers guy like Sean Poe, and he tracks everything. And a lot of what he tracks is based on what they call hyper enrollers in the industry. And a hyper enroller is someone that has enrolled 5 people in a certain amount of time. And they weren't sure what that time was, but as that percentage grows, typically as your hyper enrollers are growing, that means you're getting closer to momentum. And they believe our percentage is just on the cusp of being at that momentum phase. Taylor also mentioned that they just had an amazing earnings call, and they had LifeVantage had their biggest month-over-month growth since 2016. And he said 1 month would be hype, 2 months means we're getting close, like we are close to momentum. He said the fact that he was at the Poe's home and there were 3 different organizations represented there through the Poe's and Fred Graves and Scott Satterfield. He said a lot of companies strive for that unity. They strive for that culture, but they never make it. And it never comes to be. So he just could not believe that there were 3 different organizations within LifeVantage that were there working together. That was a really beautiful thing for him. And he said, if you see the wave coming and you're out in the water and you see it coming, you usually can paddle and you can catch it. But once the wave is past you, it's a lot harder to get on it and it's a lot harder to catch it. And that's what he feels is coming. So he said right now is the time to paddle like you've never paddled before and make sure that you're sharing this with people. And he said, the funny thing was, he was on this live and the entire time he had this huge smile on his face. Like he knows so much information that he cannot share and not divulge with us. But he said across the company, typically you've got the US growing and maybe China's not, or China's growing and the US isn't. And they said across the company right now, there's growth consistently everywhere. And he also said in his time and all the people he's met, when he hears a lot of the stories, he's hearing people tell him, you know, I'm only a Pro 3. I've been in for 4 years. And then they say some excuses or they tell a little bit more about their story. And he said adamantly, and again tonight, I was watching it before I got on here, and he said, never, ever, ever, ever compare your journey to the journey of someone else's. Everyone has a different journey. But they said consistency is the key. And the minute you're not consistent, and I remember this phrase a couple weeks ago in church, they said silence is the enemy's playground. And when we are not in action, that is the enemy's playground, right? He's looking for those quiet moments, those moments of inactivity to attack. That's when he wants to take the most advantage of you and take your belief away and make you believe that you're not worthy. That you shouldn't be on this journey. And that maybe you shouldn't be talking because your dog's so loud. Stop. Okay, so anyway, I thought that was really good information. Okay, and I just want to remind you, the Mexico incentive trip, the trackers in your back office, do not be telling yourself that you cannot win that incentive trip. I still believe with all my heart, this month or next month, there's going to be some kind of extra incentive to help you earn more points. I hope you got the Mother's Day package for 25 points. I hope you're sharing this consistently because getting people to Pacesetter, enrolling people, rank advancing them, doing what we're supposed to be doing, it's building your belief. It's going to build that person and it will get you to Mexico. It can happen for you. And then again, the Vitality Stack promotion, that is going on through this month. So keep going to the Holiday Hustle page. And when you get a Vitality Stack, post it on there, shout about it, pimp yourself, like let everybody know you got it. It's really important to celebrate those little moments. Okay, when we talk about consistency and we talk about growth in this business, yes, there's strategies, yes, there's a blueprint, but sometimes the blueprint isn't enough if your mindset's not in the right place, right? If you don't have belief in yourself. And Holly and Jennifer Freeman started this trend, 2-3 years ago, going to Master Your Influence in Salt Lake City. And I remember the day they went, there were tickets for sale. They contacted me. They said, you would love this. It's $37. And I was like, okay. I didn't ask questions. I just signed up. $37 seemed like a no-brainer. That has been a domino effect. And we've had people in our business continuing to go. And this last weekend, Vicki and Diana Rawlings were there. They went to Master Your Influence. And for Vicki and Diana, it was both their second time. And I know, depending on the season in your life, it's so important to go another time and to continue to go. I'm hoping to go again in August with a bigger group that Vicki's put together because you just hear things differently because of where you're at in life. You guys, if you have not been there, contact Vicki and maybe you can still get in for $37 because I promise you, you won't regret it. So they are going to tell us their takeaways. So Diana, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to unmute you. Tell us what the weekend did for you and how you're going to use it in your LifeVantage business going forward.
Okay. Yes, if you're thinking about going, definitely reach out to Vicki and make arrangements for that. So like Tanya said, this is the second time I went. I think the first time I was crying the whole time and probably missed a lot because a lot of things were really made clear to me of where some of my weaknesses were or areas that I needed to improve on. So the second time that I went, I felt like it was it was a completely different presentation. And I know part of it was because I was different and ready to learn something new. And one thing that was really focused on was repetition. And that quiet mind, we think it's a quiet mind, it's really, you've got those words playing over and over in your head, and you got to know what you're saying to yourself. Just like the devil's hands are in there feeding you lies, for sure. And that's that voice that comes from inside of you. So one of the things that he talked about is communication requires clarification. A lot of times we are not fully understood because we have a subconscious mind and a conscious mind. And our subconscious mind has about 650 words ready for you to explain yourself, like for myself right now. But we've got a filter that filters those out, and we only express about 150 words. So so a lot of those words come out through our body language. So at the beginning of each session, he had us recalibrate our physical body for clarification of communication and to get us into the proper mindset. One thing he wanted us to work on was the whole body, mind and body working together, open for communication. So something that you should all be doing to begin your day, or before you make a phone call or send out a text or give a presentation, is calibrate your body. So you want to have your chin up, even if you're not feeling like it. Chin up, smile on. Something he said is, it's lazy not to smile. We should all be smiling. We want our hands to be by our sides, relaxed, shoulders back. Something else that we need to do is have our tail out. You know how a dog will put his tail between his legs when he's feeling like he's scolded or he's doing something wrong? We need to have our tail out like a dog and be up with that, and then have our feet facing forward and have them parallel. If they're going in different directions or not quite lined up, it's hard for us to focus on where we're going, what our direction is. So this is something that you could do. It just takes a few seconds in the bathroom. Give yourself a great big smile in the morning, and it really helps calibrate yourself for the day. And actually, I just saw Mel Robbins posted a video where a teacher was having her students do that before they took a test. And they called it their superhero pose. And they all stood with their chin up, shoulders back, ready to prepare themselves for that test. It's the same idea. So this also helps us open up our bodies instead of having them closed. Which when they're closed, we feel more stress, and our cortisol goes up, and our testosterone goes down, which makes us feel less confident. And all of this stuff can be scientifically proven, and it seems to be obvious, but we forget it so easily. Another part of that is that he wanted us to focus on is having a vision board and using it, and also having a set of declarations and using high repetition just to help get our minds in that positive mindset. And then take time to improve and change your mental image of yourself. Something we had to do is go around for 3 minutes and meet as many people as we could. And In doing that, I was blown away by the comments people were sharing. Just, hi, Diana, I'm Stacy, and wow, you are so pretty. Your eyes blow me away, or whatever. I was just really having a different set of eyes on you, sharing with you what they see was just really awesome. I could go on and on and on.
Thank you. I think that is good for people to see, for them to get a visualization of how others see them. Vicki and I talked about that today too. Like, many people just don't get it. They don't remember how God sees them, how loved they are, and they just assume that they know how other people see them, and that's less than. And so they cower and they hover and they never say anything, and then they never grow. So I'm so glad you went again, Diana, and that it was a completely different experience for you this time.
It was.
It's good to go that first time and let the emotions flow and come out, and then be able to really receive it the next time you went. So I'm so proud of you for going. Way to
Thank
go.
you.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, you're welcome. Good job. Okay, Vicki, I know you got a lot to say, sister. Tell us what you got.
Okay, there we go. Both Diana and I, like she said, we could go on and on and on. When I got home last night, my husband and my daughter wanted to hear all about it. So we sat in the living room and we talked, and I shared with them everything I could remember, along with my, having my notes to remind me. And we talked for over 2 hours. And it was just one thing I remembered after another, and they all piled on top of each other. And so I was telling them about the body language. I was telling them about the declarations and the vision board and all that sort of thing. And so at the end of this very long conversation, Vince says to me, how is this going to, how are you going to use this for LifeVantage? And I started talking, and what I started saying wasn't something I had ever thought of before. So him asking me that question prompted me to say, it's just come to my mind, like while I was sitting there in that class, that I think part of my struggle with both inviting and presenting is I feel like I'm asking people to give me their money. And growing up, I grew up with very little. I grew up fabulous. I had great parents, great family. I was never hungry. I always had a home, all of that. But I knew to never ask my parents for money. You just didn't ask them for anything. You just assumed they would provide for you. So I know that I don't like to ask anybody for anything, and I definitely don't like to ask people for money. So it came to me as I was talking to him. I said, I know that I have some issues with feeling like when I invite someone or present to someone, I'm asking them for their money. And my past has told me that it's not okay to ask somebody for money. So I have to work through and change the story that I have in my head about asking people for money, even though I know that when I'm presenting or inviting, I'm not saying to them, I need you to give me $40. It's a trade. They're getting something, but in my child mind that's been imprinted on the screen in my head, I'm asking them for money. So it was a huge realization that I hadn't ever even thought of until I was answering Vince when he asked me that last night. So going to something like this kind of causes you to think about how you think, and think about why you think how you think. And a big percentage of it, actually all of it, is based on what story do you have in your head, whether it's about money, relationships, being successful, feeling worthy, feeling pretty, anything. It's your thoughts are all based on the movie that's playing in your head, and the movie comes from your past experiences. And so that was huge for me to realize that last night. So now I'm aware of it. I haven't got figured out yet how I'm going to deal with it. But awareness is the first step. So now I at least know why I have such a hang up about even inviting. And then if I do present, I know I'm thinking in the back of my head, I don't like asking people for money. I don't like asking people for money. I don't like asking people for money. Well, that comes out. That comes out. It doesn't come out of my mouth, but it comes out of my body language. It comes out of, it just, your body speaks more than your words do. You know, Diana was saying you have 650 words to say at any given minute, but that filters out and you end up saying maybe 150. The other 500 of those words come out in your body language. So your body says more than your words do. And if your mouth is saying one thing and your body is saying another thing, the person watching you unconsciously doesn't even realize it, but they are going to believe your body. They're not going to believe the words that come out of your mouth. They're going to believe what your body is telling them. And they don't do that consciously. It's just an automatic thing that what you said and how you look doesn't match. So they automatically go with how you look, not with the words you said. So sorry, that was a little tangent, but it does. What you think in your head comes out in your body language. The other thing that I realized is from going last year, you probably all know the huge thing that I got from that was the positive affirmations and the positive self-talk. Huge. I took that and I ran with it and I use it every single day. And I'm proof that it worked. And a piece that he shared with us that, I mean, same conference that Tanya and Diana were at, you know, we were all three there together a year ago, but he talked about vision boards and
Senator Fisher's campaign to remind you to vote for Deb primary tomorrow.
Hang on.
It's hard to get things done for Nebraska families, and it's a great promise she made to Nebraska.
Sorry, some spammer was leaving me a message about voting tomorrow. Anyway, I didn't really grasp the vision board thing. Squirrel. I didn't really grasp I mean, I understood what he was saying, but I didn't, I did the vision board, I brought it home, and like he says, people will say, it doesn't work for me. Well, I mean, I knew it wasn't the vision board. I knew it was me, that I didn't know what I was doing wrong, or I couldn't. What it came down to was I couldn't manage my thoughts. When I would look at the things on my vision board, and my old thoughts would start saying, "Really, you think you can have that? You've never had anything like that before. I don't know what you're thinking. Forget it." And it rejects the idea. And he had told us that was going to happen, but he said, "Just be sure to manage your thoughts about it." Well, I didn't do well at managing my thoughts, so I gave up on the vision board pretty fast. Well, this time around, I realized that he was saying you have to have the affirmations and the vision board together. And then another thing he shared with us about when you do your vision board, when the trash talk does come to your mind, when you're looking at the picture and your practical conscious mind goes, "Really? You really think you can do that? You really think you can have that?" Any of that trash talk that comes up, you should have a piece of paper there and you just write down all the garbage that your mind is telling you about why you can't have what that is that you're looking at. And then you take that piece of paper and you crumple it up and you throw it in the trash. And you do this over and over and over again, day after day, until eventually you've told your mind enough times that it finally goes, "Okay, well, this is familiar. Yeah, I think I've heard her think about this, trip to Hawaii before." And it eventually gets through, but you have to be persistent, you have to be consistent, and you have to manage the trash talk. So it's just, all of it together is just so completely mind blowing that I'm going back again in August, And I can see that it looks like, for me anyway, there must be, like the first time what I grasped was the self-talk and the affirmation. This time, I think I finally understand vision boards. I'm excited to see what hits me when I go in August. So I would encourage, I know Colleen's going in August. I would encourage anybody else. The $37 deal supposedly ended today, but I would still try to call and see if they would do $37. In fact, the woman that I talked to, he so badly wants people to have this information. She told me, she said, you didn't hear this from me, but I'll tell you a little secret, that the price for this class is $227 if you go register online. But if you just call in, they give it to you for $138. She said, we want to reward you for taking the initiative and calling us rather than just going online and signing up like everyone else. So it's worth every penny of $138. It's worth every penny of $227, but who doesn't want to bargain? But I would encourage anybody who is maybe struggling with your mind and why you do what you do and why you think how you think. This guy just has a way of explaining how powerful your mind is, and then he teaches you how to manage it. Crazy. I'll stop.
No, you know what I was thinking? Like with the vision boards, and again, I can see mine. It's in my office. It's on a big board. There's 9 things on it. And I was telling Vicki as well, I've been to that conference. I've listened to the audio. I've taught on it. And I was talking about the morning routine that I have now consistently been doing that I love and fills my soul. I get up at 5 a.m. I go to my class. I'm home before 6. I shower, and then I sit in my chair in my bedroom and I read scripture, and then I have my journal that asks me questions. It has me write down gratitude. It has like a be still and know area where you just meditate for a little bit and you just write down anything that's on your mind. And then you write about the scripture and what you've learned about yourself from it and what you learned about God from it. And then I write a prayer. It's all in there. It's an amazing journal. And I love how that feels me, and I give it time. And I'm thinking about like when we're in college and we have a test, or when we start a new job, like if we're told to dedicate time to something so that it will move us forward or get us a good grade or give us a raise, we give it time. If we have to get continuing education for our area of expertise, for our profession, we give it time. But for some reason, we don't want to give time to vision and what we want for our life to really change it in a big way. What the heck is wrong with us? I mean, we deserve, and God wants you to dedicate that time to the vision board. And I was telling Vicki, like, I can't shut my brain off sometimes. I'm looking at my pictures and I'm consistently saying, I don't have time. Like, I just need to keep doing, I should be doing something else. I should be doing something else. Rather than standing there in front of it and creating a story and affirmations that go with every single piece that's on the board and how it's going to feel and what it's going to be like. Because what it does is it then becomes a part of who you are. You walk like the vision board, you talk like the vision board, you look for the people that can bring you what you want on your vision board. You become your vision board, and then you attract those things to help you get what's on your vision board. It's not science. It's not rocket science. It's just not. But we have
Tanya,
time. Yeah.
One of the things he said is, like, when you're looking at your picture, you're looking at winning your trip to Mexico. Why? Why are you winning that trip to Mexico? It means that you were out there showing what you did. You're out there presenting, you're reaching out to people. Why? Because I want people to know about NRF2 and what it can do for them. Why? Because it will benefit my family. They'll see me grow. They'll see me excel. I'll get new friendships and develop my LifeVantage family. And that's, you know, you got to really focus on that why. And that was something that was really big for each of those pictures. Why do I want my kids to get braces? So they have a healthy bite and they don't have problems in the future, and so on and so on, but really tying it to the why.
That's where we're screwed up. We don't know. Like we're not attached enough to our why. We get too content. And that's why we don't give it the time. If you want good grades, why? So that you can get a job and have a good transcript. You go to continuing education, why? So you can keep your job and people can pay you what you want to be paid for your profession. But when it comes to us as individuals, you guys, it goes back to the bottom line. The very beginning basics of getting in this business in the first place. Why did you say yes? Why are you getting in? And yes, that evolves, but we have to stay so connected to it, because if we don't, we're going to be spinning our wheels and we're going to be wasting our time. That's just how it is. We have to get connected to our why. And when we are going to do what we're supposed to do. We're going to do the do. We're going to give everything the time that it is required to take. And we're going to build those affirmations, build that vision board, and we're going to be so proud of it and so connected to it. It just makes sense, doesn't it? It's really simple. It's just shutting your brain off and being present with what it will take to give you what you need. I was at a conference on Saturday, and there was a pastor there from California, and she's married to a pastor as well. And she goes, when I die and I meet him in heaven, she goes, I want him to say, you took every single gift I gave you and used it to the utmost potential. She's like, I don't want to have any gifts left. I don't want to have anything left. I want to know that I used every single thing that he gave me, because won't it stink to know that he had so many more things aligned for you and you didn't use them, right? Okay, so with that, I'm going to close this in prayer. And again, if you want to log off, you can. If you want to stay on, you can do that. Let me stop the recording.